If you're recognized for your questions.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman, and thank you to our witnesses today. Mr. Sullivan, in disclosures he's made publicly and to the Congress in his testimony yesterday, a former Twitter employee, Mr. Zatko, alleged that Twitter has made willful misrepresentations to the Federal Trade Commission with respect to its compliance with past regulatory action. Is that true?
I'm familiar with the allegations. I would point you to our statements that we made as a company that the company disagrees with much of the allegations. Now it's connected to an ongoing lawsuit, so I'm not able to address
My question,
FTC
Mr. Sullivan, is
related things.
has Twitter willfully misrepresented facts to the Federal Trade Commission?
I can tell you that Twitter disputes the allegations, is all I can tell you about those particular allegations.
So you can't tell me definitively, Mr. Sullivan, that Twitter has not willfully misrepresented facts to the FTC?
I would point you to what I just said.
Noted. So you do not deny that Twitter has willfully misrepresented facts to the FTC? Understood. I want to ask you about the logging of access to user data and the extent of privileged access to user data for Twitter personnel. Does Twitter, Mr. Sullivan, have in place a system by which you can determine definitively which Twitter employees have accessed private user data, for example, to include history of use of the platform, browsing history, direct messages, geolocation data, IP addresses?
So thank you for the question. I can tell you what I've observed. I've been in my role since April of this year. Our current leadership for InfoSec, all the privacy and access controls, has a robust process for access to data. So for example, people have to have a business need to access certain data sets, right? So we have to operate the service. Some number of people need access to certain data sets. Our goal that's aligned with our privacy objective is to minimize that access to that necessary, to do your job function. So we have access controls, monitoring, logging. I receive, for example, new employee approvals. This person needs to be able to run this report. It's not at the granular level you're saying, but it's just to make the point.
Yeah, I do appreciate
we
the
have
overview,
pretty granular
Mr. Sullivan.
ACLs
I
and
appreciate
monitoring.
the overview, but the specific question to which I'm seeking an answer is there a log event anytime a Twitter employee accesses the private user data of a specific user? Can Twitter determine every time one of your employees has accessed such private user data? Do you have that functionality? And it's really a yes or no question.
We have monitoring and logging and access control. It's always evolving and improving, but what I can tell you is I've observed it in action. I can't speak to every single system. We have a team that can.
Mr. Sullivan, I'll look for that and follow up. And I just want to say respectfully this. You're here before the U.S. Senate. Serious allegations were made yesterday by one of your former employees. And I'm open-minded. I'm here pursuing the facts. Certainly in your responses for the record, it's going to help you to be clear, definitive, and precise responding to yes or no questions like that one. Can you commit that in your written responses we're not just going to get talking points and generalities, we're going to get precision and yes or no answers to yes or no questions? Can I get a yes or no answer to that question?
Yes, I'm trying to
Thank you.
explain.
No, I just need a yes to that question.
Yeah, I understand. Thank you.
So yes?
Yes.
Great, thank you. Let me ask you, please, Mr. Cox, there's been substantial public reporting controversy and concern about the Metapixel product and the possibility that its deployment on various hospital systems' website, for example, has enabled Meta to collect private healthcare data, some of it potentially that would typically be HIPAA protected from U.S. persons. Does Meta possess or collect any healthcare or medical data related to its users or to U.S. persons?
Senator, not to my knowledge, but I'd be happy to follow up on that specific issue.
Okay. I'd like you to follow up and please, Mr. Cox, submit to this committee a comprehensive and precise answer to that question, which I will recharacterize in writing. We need to understand as the U.S. Congress whether or not Meta is collecting, has collected, has access to, or is storing medical or health data for U.S. persons or your users. Will you get me a comprehensive and precise answer to that question?
Senator, yes, we'd be happy to follow up.
Okay. Thank you very much. Ms. Pappas, I overheard some of the responses to Senator Hawley's question. I'd like you to answer a question that, there's been significant topical focus on this throughout this hearing. In what ways does the government of the People's Republic of China, if at all, exercise influence over TikTok's corporate behavior or corporate policies? And I'm going to ask the chairman's indulgence and follow up for as much precision as I can get, so I'm going to humbly and respectfully ask you not to give me the immediate top-line talking points, but to give me a precise, particularized answer to that question.
In no way, shape, or form, period.
In no way, shape, or form, period, does the government of China exercise any influence over TikTok's corporate practices or policies. For example,
Correct.
If you receive a response from the government of China to take down certain content for reasons that they state are related to their national security, do you comply with such requests?
No.
Do you comply with such requests if you receive them from the U.S. government?
If it follows due legal process, yes. We actually include all government requests for takedown in our transparency reports, in which you can see that China is not requested.
Thank you, Ms. Pappas. There'll be some follow-up questions for you there for the record. Appreciate all of your testimony. Thank you for answering questions for those which were answered. And, Mr. Chairman, I yield back.
Thank you, Senator Ossoff.